my impression of Quad after I left was that it got harder sounding, and that
it did.
I mean, when I was there, it was not this metal sounding thing. You know?
It did get harder, but after 9/11, we became not instantly soft, but it was a lot more.
I know it went through changes all the time, and I mean,
it was a little.
It was a different era. It just became the music industry actually was putting out all kinds of the same formulas, I thought, which is why, in my opinion, why record sales, CD sales, however you want it, fell hard. Is there wasn't anything to rival the '90s. Like
for me,
you know, Pearl Jam and Nirvana. I mean. That and that whole scene, there was a lot of variety to that.
What do you feel about lyrics, though?
Well, lyrically, they had a message, and it was kind of anti-government, but at the same time, it was anti-corporate, even though they were both on big corporate labels. But what I liked about the '90s that wasn't there in the 2000s was that there was a ton of variety, and a lot of the songs had a purpose other than buy my record. And 2000s it became super commercialized.
I just felt like songs became more about I want to have sex with that girl,
or
look at my at my BMW.
That's super easy commercialism.
I mean, like Blink-182's Adam's song about a son killing himself, or Papa Roach Broken Home. That's what I'm talking. I mean, kids were. When I was a teenager, I was depressed and I was angry. And I think a lot of teenagers go through that dark, depressed, angry thing.
What years were you a teenager?
That
90s?
was. I think it was yesterday. Like
was it
maybe
the 90s?
I was a teenager in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, okay.
I was a crossover teenager. I did practice writing my last name, Simon LeBon.
What did you listen to in the 90s? What stations in Sacramento?
I listened to Quad.
Oh, okay.
I loved Tesla. I loved Guns N' Roses.
So you listen to KRXQ then?
And I liked Mr. Big, but I also...
Because we didn't play any of those.
I loved, though, I did Donny Osmond.
We didn't play that either.
No, he had that one song. No,
well,
I liked
Soldier of Love. That was
Soldier
80s. That was 80s.
I
met him
Rod
when that was
Stewart.
out.
Did you? Was he as cute in person?
Well, he didn't know as much as I did about music. I had to tell him his first few albums were nothing but 60s covers, and he didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't know that Neil Diamond wrote some of his songs.
Okay, see that's where my music, like my all-time favorite of all time would be Leonard Cohen. I love his deep, gravelly voice, and I hope he lives to be 5 million years old. But I like when you can understand
lyrics.
The lyrics, and I like
when it tells a story.
Right, and then there's certain bands.
But see, that's what I thought about the 90s.
Go with it.
It's funny. We must have been in different worlds, because to me the 90s was strong with story songs, but the 2000s weren't.
No, that's what I mean.
Okay.
Before 9/11, I felt that people weren't as afraid to speak out.
Okay.
And then after 9/11, I felt that it became more commercially and...
Well, it just became super corporate.
Yeah. Well, remember the Clear Channel list? For instance.
Oh, yeah. The songs you can't play, like Imagine by John
And things you can't say. It was like, even the stations that didn't get it, we felt it. Because you didn't want to say something that was going to offend someone who just lost their family or a person, or... It was hard, because you didn't want to offend people. And then before that, I did.
Yeah, but I think Clear Channel wrecked a lot of stuff. But we'll get into that in another movie. I mean, they didn't have to put out that list.
Fat can of worms.
They did not have to do what they did. In fact, history shows that everything they did in a major way was a major mistake. But because they're well funded by bankers,
right.
They can blow all their cash, and the bankers still standing by with lots of cash. Quad wasn't like that. In other words, Quad didn't have the luxury of just blowing it all the time.
Well, like Nirvana was a big, it was interesting because there was some point where I was a little older, I think, than our target, because I loved Nirvana's music, but I wanted him to take a bath. So there was that. You can tell that I'm a little older,
his music was great, but the example he set was terrible.